Okay. All right. So we're going to get this thing going. Thank you guys for making the live stream. My name is Tamani Mwandani. I am the author of the new book, Black Gold Devalued, and I am a contributing member to the Black Gold movement. The live stream is entitled Black Gold Solutions because our focus is solutions on the many things that are destroying the black community. We just don't want to talk about the problem. We don't just want to talk about old quote-unquote solutions that haven't produced the kind of fruit that we need in the community. And we most certainly don't want to invite other pontificators onto the live stream that are going to do the same thing. I think there are most certainly more than enough outlets for that type of stream, and this isn't it. So the Black Gold Solutions live stream is about focusing on solutions, specific, programmatic, methodical, systematic solutions that we can enact to change the conditions of the black community. So thank you guys very much for making the live stream, and we're going to continue move forward. We're going to continue to move forward along the lines of Black Wall Street. The overall purpose of the Black Gold movement is to get black people to realize that we have a certain relationship with this American government. And that relationship, if you were to just objectively take a look at what's been done to black people since we arrived on the shores of North America to now, 2017, it would be hard to draw the conclusion, at least from my vantage point, draw the conclusion that this government doesn't really care too much for its black Americans or its black citizens or its melanated citizens. So I am saying that in order for us to really have a future worth living, we need to get back to the only thing that's worked for us in this country, as far as a collective community, as far as moving forward in a group fashion, and as far as building something for the next generation, which we no longer have because it was destroyed. But when we had Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, it was a self-sufficient, self-contained community built by black people that we owned and controlled from 1911 to 1920. And that community was subsequently destroyed by a white mob. They burned it down to the ground. And several of the brothers that were there in that community, they were World War II veterans, so they did fight back. And per my research, they were actually winning the fight, but the government at the time, they sought to firebomb and drop bombs on the community, which was actually the nation's first 9/11, actually, when American citizens were attacked by airplanes, and it was done by our own American government. So Black Wall Street in Tulsa was the largest and probably most famous, but there have been several quote-unquote Black Wall Streets in our history in this country, communities that were separate, self-sufficient, self-containing, built by black people, and of course they had to be separate because of segregation. But they did their own thing, and 99.9% of them were destroyed because a white person blamed a black person for doing something. A lynch mob develops. They go get the black person. The community tries to defend that person more often than not. And more white people attach themselves to that lynch mob, and they eventually, subsequently, burn the community down. And that's happened multiple times throughout the history of this country. The history of race riots of white on black are in the hundreds. So our history of trying to do our own thing, it's not a 1, 2, or 3 time thing. It's been done multiple times. And every single time those communities have been destroyed. And what we're saying in the Black Gold movement, what we're trying to make plain is that we've tried, as a people in this country, we've tried everything that's been placed in front of us to try. Everything that we've been allowed to do, we've done, from voting to boycotting to marching. All of those things that a law-abiding people have at their disposal to do, black Americans have tried to do. excuse me, the only thing that's really worked for us in the tangible ways when we've had our own stuff. So I am saying that we need to get back to that. We need to get back to having our own communities that we either purchase, own and control, or we build them from the ground up and we own and control. And along with that, we need to not do it once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times. We need to have a Black Wall Street in every major city in this country, as well as multiple surrounding cities. We need to create physical safe spaces in this country for Black people, because if you don't know, then you need to realize and recognize that our relationship with this American government has been one that's been antagonistic. It's been bullying. It's been psychologically traumatic. It's been downright deadly and dangerous. This system has done to Black Americans a great disservice and a heck of a number, in that it has created a people that is no longer a people, because it's been beaten out of us to become a people. So what we're saying is that we need to get back to doing the only thing that's worked for us, that's created a situation whereby we can live in peace, and that is having a Black Wall Street, which is a community that we can own and control. And throughout the last 4 or 5 live streams, I've been talking about the importance of having a Black Wall Street, specifically in detail. And I've highlighted 4 key areas, and of course there's more than 4, but I've highlighted 4 key areas to try to make the point that this idea of having a Black community that we can own and control and build on is extremely important, because if we don't do that, then not only will the things that have happened and are happening, not only will they continue, but we put ourselves in the position to become a permanent underclass in this country, because things are getting worse, not better, for Black people. And of course, by extension of us doing that, we give our children absolutely nothing that they can build upon, own, and control moving forward. So I'm saying the Black Gold Movement is saying that we need to build and have our own stuff. And when we do that, because we will do that, we must then be prepared to protect it. So the 4 key areas that I've outlined as it relates to the importance of having a Black street, or why we must have or rebuild a Black Wall Street, a community that we can own and control. The first one is protection. We need to be able to protect Black bodies, minds, and spirits. And we need to be able to protect those Black bodies, minds, and spirits from not only threats from within, but of course threats from without, which are things like police brutality, the school to prison pipeline, and things of that nature. We need to be able to, the second reason is that we need to be able to control and turn over the Black dollar as many times as possible. There are multiple millions of dollars coming through the Black community in the way of convenience stores, mini marts, corner stores, washaterias, grocery stores, Black hair care. There's money in the Black community. Restaurants, there's money in the Black community, which is why most immigrants come to the Black community to set up shop, to sell their goods and services. And I don't blame them for doing so, but I do blame us for not doing our own thing, so that we don't give them our money. And of course, if you know anything about our history, we have done our own thing, obviously, given the situation with Black Wall Street and the history of it, but it's been destroyed. But just because we've done something and it's been successful and it's been destroyed doesn't mean we stop doing it. We just need to step up our game as to when we do it again, how we go about keeping it. So the first reason is protection. The second one is economics. The third one is education. We need to be able to better educate our children as to our history, both in this country and before we got here, as well as what it means to be Black in America. It's sad and unfortunate that most Black people don't understand the relationship that we have with this government and what it means to be Black in America. And we most certainly want to educate our children as to their history before we got here and now, as well as the reality of being Black in America and what your responsibility is as a Black person in America. So the first one is protection. The second one is economics. Third one is education. And the fourth one is Black excellence. And Black excellence is us being able to keep our Black intelligence, our Black ability, our Black expertise, our strengths, keep all of those things in-house, so that the community benefits from it, so that the nation as a whole, the black nation as a whole, benefits from it first before we give it to a system that's proven itself to be anti-us, so that they in turn use that black excellence to make money to better their system, while we continue to lavish on the vine and wither on the vine, and are being destroyed. So it really does us no good to tell our children that they should do good in school, get good grades, so that they can go to college and get a skill, have some expertise, and then take it back to a system that means us no good. And of course, my generation and every generation before mine has absolutely failed the next generation of black leadership or college graduates, because we've put them in a position where they have no choice but to take whatever skills they have, whatever skills they acquire, back to a system that's proven itself to be anti-us. So what choice, will my oldest daughter have when she gets her master's degree in a few years, but to take that expertise back to white America, which has proven itself to be anti-us? So we need to give our kids a choice once they graduate college, or they graduate from a vocational school or whatever, the choice of going to Black Wall Street or White Wall Street, the choice of going to work for Black Exxon or White Exxon, the choice of going to a Black Silicon Valley or a White Silicon Valley. And of course, if we raise them the right way, if we raise them in an environment that is pro them, and they understand that in order to make that pro Black environment better, I need to bring my expertise and my skills back to that environment, that community, that nation, which of course is all about them. And if we don't do that, then again, we are not only failing this current crop of black professionals coming out of high school, college, vocational school, but we most certainly are making it extremely difficult for every generation to follow, to always be in a situation where they are disrespected, not treated fairly, not treated as a human, not treated as if they have value, but always as a second-class citizen. We are placing them in that position if we don't give them something that has value, that has power, that they can build upon for the generation that's following them. So what we're saying in the Black Gold movement, what we're saying via everything that we're doing, is that as we see it, because some people don't agree, of course, and that's okay. If you disagree, God bless you, good luck, and more power to you. But for those of us that agree with our history in this country and how we've been treated, those of us that agree that marching, boycotting, voting is good, it's okay. Voting is extremely important, especially locally. But while you are doing that, those that agree that we should also be building something that we can own and control and pass to our children. For us, this Black Wall Street thing, this black community ownership and control thing, it's not only a must do, but it is the only recourse we have left, and it's actually the only recourse that we have ever tried that has worked for us in any significant and meaningful way. But how do you make that happen? How do you go about building a nation within a nation? How do you go about building a black community that's owned and controlled by black people who are on the same page, who have the same mindset and the same goal? Well, as I stated in definitely the last live stream and the one before that, and I've stated a few times before, I am a member, I was a member, an active member of an organization called the Shrines of the Black Madonna of the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church. Very, very, very proud member of that church for over 20 years. And I have had the experience of living in an environment that was owned and controlled by black people for 20 plus years. My 3 kids were raised in that environment. My oldest for the first 9 years of her life, my middle daughter for the first 7.5 years, and my son for the first 5 years, because then we got a house after that. But they were raised in an environment that was owned and controlled by black people, and all they saw in that environment was black people doing things. Multiple apartment complexes, multiple institutions, a nursery, a daycare, a small convenience store, our own security force, a park. It was and in many cases still is the closest thing to heaven that black people will ever see. So I am saying that this Black Wall Street thing, this Black community thing, is more than just an idea. It's more than just something I think that we should do. I'm saying it's something that is most certainly doable. Black people have done. Black people still are doing, and I have been trained to do so. And I'm not the only one. Of course, there are several members, hundreds and thousands, not hundreds of thousands, hundreds and thousands of members that have come through the Shrines of the Black Madonna from 1953 to now, that if they spent at least a year in that church, at least a year in that organization, then they have a better understanding than most Black people as to what it really means to be about nation building, to be about trying to build a nation within a nation with power for Black people. And of course, there were members of the Shrine that that had been there for 30, 40, 50 years, some that are still there. So of course, their understanding and their expertise of the Black condition, the Black mindset, the Black spirit, what Black people can do is much greater than my own. I was only there for 20 years, but again, that 20 years is much more than most Black people will ever experience. And I'm saying being a part of an institution or an organization that has become international, but being in that environment has given me certain insight into what I know Black people need, what I know would benefit Black people, what I know would make the Black community better. And I know based on my own experiences that if Black people can own and control the environment in which they exist, then they have multiple opportunities to not only protect the children in that environment, but also the women and the elders. And most certainly we need to give our elders something to do other than put them in a retirement home. But you have a chance to ensure that the typical threats that the current Black community are experiencing via drugs, murder, rape, assault, theft, whatever, those issues don't exist because you know everyone that's in that environment. You know everyone that's in that community. And of course, you're not only working together to achieve the same objective, but you also have systems and processes in place to not only weed out the dangers that exist in the community, but you have a process to get rid of them if they are a danger and or a threat to that community. But you also have a process that can weed out as well as make the individual member of the community stronger as it relates to being a member of that group and not just thinking about themselves, which is what America pushes, the me, myself, and I mentality. But being an African people coming from a history that's older than anyone else's, we didn't think me, myself, and I. We thought we. And we've gotten away from that via this American system, slavery in this American system, which is one of the things that's destroying us. So having a system that you can own, having a community that you own and control with a system that's different than the system that America has, you immediately place the children and the women and the elders and the members of that community in a superior position because they no longer have to deal with the day-to-day threats of being Black in a country that's anti-Black or anti-them. They exist in an environment that's pro-them. And if you exist in an environment that's full of love, that's trying to make you better, as opposed to one that doesn't love you and is not trying to make you better, but really trying to incarcerate you, keep you in a box, keep you in a certain situation, keep you impoverished, not properly educated, then of course the outcomes are going to be completely different. So, Black Wall Street, Black community, owned and controlled by Black people. How do we do that? Two things we must do, which gets to the purpose of this live stream, 18 minutes into it. The first one is that we need to have leadership on the same page. And to do that, you need to have a process to find, interview, and vet that leadership to make sure it's the right leadership. So next year, April 14, 2018, we're going to have the first Black leadership election to take place online, whereby candidates that have been nominated by the community nationally for different departments, and we'll get into that a little later, different departments can be voted on by the national Black community, and the winners of those departments will then not really create because they're already doing things, they will duplicate their efforts for the larger Black community nationwide, so that whatever their successes are, via their expertise and or discipline, they can show the rest of us, the rest of the Black nation, how to do what they are doing in their particular area. So for example, if there is a brother or sister who has expertise, proven expertise in agribusiness in Marietta, Georgia, they've been nominated, they accept the nomination, they've been vetted, and they've been voted for, and they win the election, they would then devise a plan, which shouldn't be too difficult because they would have already had a plan, a program in place, that's why they would be nominated. They would devise a plan to make their program national. And by making their program national, they are bringing an agribusiness discipline to the national black community so that we can get about the task of being able to better feed ourselves with food that's best for ourselves. And of course, there are black people nationwide who are already doing urban gardening and agribusiness, and we're not trying to compete with them. We would actually align ourselves with them and or work with them so that the larger community in that area, as well as the larger national black community, can take up this agribusiness discipline and move forward as a collective. And we want to do that in 18 different departments. So to make that possible, to get on the path of building a Black Wall Street, and to get on the path of finding the right leadership, you must have people that are on the ground that see the vision, want to be a part of the vision, want to help make the vision possible, and are willing to put in their time and expertise to make it so. So that's where the Black Gold Ambassador comes in. No movement has been successful or will ever be successful without people in that movement to make it so. And we're saying that in order to lay the groundwork to rebuilding the black community, as well as building these Black Wall Streets, we need people on the ground, and we're calling them Black Gold Ambassadors. Black Gold for the melanin in your skin, and ambassadors because you represent the nation in that particular area. The ambassadors are extremely important because they will not only be the face of the nation in that area, but they will help us to highlight the strengths of that area, the weaknesses of that area, the threats both within and without in that area, the opportunities in that area, and everything that's going on in that area. So for example, I live here in the greater Houston area, and Houston is extremely large. It's spread out. We could easily have 5 ambassadors in this area alone just because Houston's so spread out. And what those ambassadors would do is, let's say if there is an ambassador in Sunnyside, which is a predominantly black community in Houston, the first thing they would do is help us identify the businesses in that area that are ripe for takeover. Most black communities have multiple convenience stores that are owned and controlled by someone else. So understanding that we need to not only redirect those black dollars, but we need a way to keep those black dollars within the community and keep them going. So part of the plan as it relates to building this Black Wall Street is identifying those businesses that are in those low-hanging fruit areas like convenience stores, mini marts, washateers, that kind of thing. Finding out where they are, finding out how large of an area they serve, and putting them on the list for takeover. And then, of course, we methodically make moves to replace that business with a black-owned business and put them out of business so that we, the community, can keep those revenues and profits in-house and they can go somewhere else. That it's probably one of the first things that an ambassador would do. They will also help us identify the community centers in that area as well as the libraries, because one of the first things that we're going to do is start educating our children on their history, their culture, both within this country and before we got here. And to do that, you need to have a place where you can teach the children. And we're going to do it via YouTube videos, documentaries, movies made about black people, about black things. We watch the movie, and then we have a recap and talk to the kids about the details of the movie. And by doing so, we create an opportunity to not only connect with the children in our community, which is vitally important, but we also give them something that they may not be getting, that they're probably not getting at home or from the school system, maybe even some community program they're a part of. And even if they are getting it, we're simply going to add to. So an ambassador will not only let us know where those community centers and libraries, possibly churches are, but they also let us know about the economic situation in that community as far as the businesses that are ripe for takeover. And if those businesses do not exist, then they'll let us know where a business can be placed so that we can look at it strategically as far as to place a business there. Another thing that an ambassador will do is that they will let us know about the politics in that area. So if there is a judge that has a track record, of course we'll be able to provide that information to that ambassador for that area. But there is a judge who has a track record of sending black kids to jail or I won't say prison, but jail or alternative school programs. If they have proven that they're not really trying to help the community, but they're trying to incarcerate members of the community, then we need to know who that person is, so that the next time they're up for election, we can find a counter candidate and get behind that counter candidate, so that they can win that election. So the ambassador will not only help with the education of the children, the location of that, the economics of the community, the politics of the community, but they also let us know about the threats in that community. So if there is a particular police officer or a particular drug dealer or a particular business owner that's proven him or herself to be anti-black, anti the people, then we need to know about it so that we can take steps to remove that threat from the community. And of course, this is not a 1 week, 2 week, 3, 4, 5 month program. This is a lifelong process of creating a new community that has a new system within it for the sake of black people. So as we are working toward the ultimate goal of recreating these black Wall Streets around the country, it starts in the community with the black ambassadors. They will also let us know, as they let us know about the threats in the community, they will also let us know about the leadership in that community, the community leaders, the civic leaders, the church leaders, people who have been in the community already working for the community. They can identify us with those, they can connect us with those persons so that we can bring more support to what they are already doing and plug into what they're already doing. Our goal is to better strengthen positive things that are already happening in communities around the country by bringing other disciplines to that program. Like, I have seen things on Facebook and YouTube of black people trying to do things in their particular community, but unfortunately it's not going to last because they're not dealing with certain key areas. And again, from my background, from my understanding, from my vantage point, you have to have certain things in place if what you are doing on a community level is going to stand. You have to have a way to protect what you're trying to build. You have to have a process and or a system that's going to change the mindset of the people in that area. You have to have a way to plug into the politics of that area, because again, that's extremely important. You have to have an economic program that's going to allow you to sustain whatever you're doing in that area. So oftentimes we have people in the community around the country that are doing very, 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 very good things. But unfortunately, that good thing isn't going to last if we can't bring national support, national awareness, national leadership, national infrastructure to whatever they are trying to do. Because by doing so, we increase and or heighten the possibility of their success, because we're bringing a national community to and support to what they're trying to do. It is unfortunate that in 2017, black people get excited when a new grocery store that's black owned is opened in the community. And of course it is a very, very, very good thing when a black person opens a black grocery store. But in 2017, after having been here for over 350 years, another black grocery store opening should be the order of the day. It should be the way it is. It should be business as usual. And of course it isn't, because of the nature of our community and what's been done to us. But even when that happens, when there is a black, a critically important black business that's opening, then we need to do whatever we can, not only locally, but regionally and nationally, to make sure that community, that new business is going to thrive and last, because of course it's important and we need it. And another thing that the ambassador will do, and let me take one step back. Ambassadorship is of course an individual thing, but we are going to need multiple ambassadors working in a group capacity, like a committee, to do all of these different things. So keep in mind that we're not talking about a small project. We're not talking about just having some really nice education programs for black children, or really nice community cleanup programs for a given community. We're talking about creating an environment where black people can not only live safely, but we can put things in and around that community so that it will grow and thrive. And again, having been a member of an organization that owned and controlled its environment, with institutions, with businesses, with services, with programs, I know what that's like, and I know that that can only help. So what we're saying is that we need to find black people who have a sense of urgency about working in the black community, a sense of need about helping the black community, people who have energy, expertise, time, talent, and they want to bring whatever they have to the community so that can be used to make the community better. And I know that there are hundreds of thousands of black people out there who want to be a part of something, and maybe they either don't have something that they can be a part of, maybe they don't know how to be a part, or maybe what is currently happening they don't agree with. But I am saying that having a movement like this one, like the Black Gold movement, where we are ultimately talking about building black cities, purchasing abandoned towns and cities so that we can rebuild them for the purpose of making sure that we have a future worth living in this country. I'm saying that's not a small thing. It's not a small endeavor by any stretch of the imagination. We are trying to create these black Wall Streets in every major city in this country so that black people will have a safe haven by which they can be loved, where they can be developed, where they can grow and they can thrive. And we're never going to have that as long as we exist and live in America's inner cities. We're never going to have that as long as we exist and live in a system that's proven itself to be anti-us. So what's the solution to that? You need to create a counter system. You need to create a counter culture that's the exact opposite of what's killing you. And if you don't do that, then you're always going to be in the position that you are in, or that we are in, which is second class and are subservient to a system that's dominating and been killing us from day one. So in our opinion, I am saying that black lives really don't matter to the dominant culture. Because if black lives did matter, black lives did have value, then everything that has happened and is still happening would have never taken place. So the Black Gold ambassadorships, Black Gold ambassadors are important in a number of areas, because we are not going to be able to work in that given area if we don't know that given area or that given community. So no matter where you are, your expertise, your time, your energy, your talent is needed in order for this to work. And for this to work, if this doesn't work, then we are placing ourselves again in a position of becoming a permanent underclass in this country. And I venture to say that if we don't do this, if black people on a national level don't do this, then we are guaranteeing that what's been happening and what is happening will simply continue, because we haven't made it so that it will stop. And we're never going to be able to change this system from the inside out. And that doesn't mean that we don't need people who understand the system and people who can work the system. But in order to change the system, you have to completely wipe it out and start over. And of course, that's not going to happen. So we need to create our own system. And again, I'm saying to do that is most certainly possible, because I've lived that. And these things will never occur if we don't have the right people on the ground to do these things across the board. So I mentioned that the first step to making all of this happen is that we need to have the right leadership in the right areas. And to have the right leadership in the right areas, we need to have the right people, the ambassadors, on the ground to help us find the right leadership in the right areas. The election that's next year, there are, like I said, there are 18 different departments, and I actually remember to write them down. So I'm going to read them off for you so you will know what areas we're talking about. And all of this information is, of course, on the website, blackgoldnation.com. So if you missed something that I've said, or you want to go back and or get more information, and even look at the candidates, of which we do have a few that still have to be uploaded, but that'll be done by this weekend. Excuse me, that you can see what I'm talking about, see the departments, read some information, and have a better understanding of what we're working on right now. But the departments as of right now are agribusiness, business development, economics and finance, city planning and business integration, infrastructure and construction, domestic policy and sustainability, education, foreign policy, health and nutrition, employment and training, spiritual health and well-being, information technology, intelligence and defense, legal, media marketing and public relations, national security and politics. So as I said, there are 18 different departments right now that we need ambassadorships for, to help us find leadership for. But that 18 is merely what we've been able to come up with per our research. We've researched multiple government systems around the country, both now and in the past, and we've pulled out, we've extricated those departments that repeat themselves, like agribusiness or agriculture or health and nutrition or welfare. We pulled those things out and said, okay, well, if we're trying to build a nation within a nation, then we need those same departments. And we've of course added departments that we thought we thought are necessary for black people, like spiritual health and well-being. So those are the departments that we are trying to find leadership for, because we believe, based on our personal beliefs and our research, that these departments, these areas are key to any community thriving. And of course, we're trying to rebuild the black community so that we can build a nation within a nation around the country. And the vision, of course, is to have these multiple black Wall Streets that are connected, because that connectivity is what brings the power. So as an example, if a convenience store generates over $500,000 of revenue a year, and they profit almost $150,000, that's what they walk away with at the end of the year, then when you look at the number of black communities in the country, you look at how many convenience stores exist in those communities, you can immediately see how that's tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that can go behind making these departments work. If you were to which is power. If you were to look at, of course, then all of these this economic plan, all these communities are connected. So that's hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's economic power. And if you look at the importance of politics in each community, especially locally, where the school board is elected, where the police chief is elected, where judges are elected, voting locally is extremely important. But we don't have a national political process by which we can identify, vet, and support the candidates that have our best interests at heart. And we need to do that as well. So if you can imagine having a political system, that's how Barack Obama won the first time around, because he was most certainly outspent and was not expected to win. But the brother's ground game, his grassroots campaign, and his organization was so strong that he was able to win. So I'm saying we need to have the same thing across the board politically. And when you have these black Wall Streets, these black communities around the country that are connected economically and politically, then that's political power. And political power is how a lot of communities get what they have and keep what they have. A few weeks ago, I did a live stream where I was out in the community in a part of Houston, and I was trying to best I could with my phone. I couldn't really zoom in, but I was trying to show the Vietnamese community, one of them in Houston, that owns and control its community with all the businesses. The street signs are in both English and Vietnamese. The business names are in English and Vietnamese. The marquee that shows the businesses in a given shopping center are in English and Vietnamese. Some of them were just in Vietnamese. And you could look all the way down the street as far as you could see, left and right, all Vietnamese. And I am saying, having been here for long as we have, we need to do the exact same thing. But this time around, we need to make sure that when we do it, we are ready to protect it in whatever way we have to protect it, because we know if we know nothing else, we know that it is going to be threatened and or attacked from both without, which is probably initial, as well as within, which we'll have to deal with. So when you have a black-owned communities that are owned and controlled by black people, that are connected economically, that are connected politically, that are connected with our policy as far as how we view what's happening abroad and how it affects the black community. I venture to say that if we already had this in place, we may have been able to stop what's happening in Libya right now, because black people connected and on the same page can do more than certain other communities abroad, because we would have more economic and political power. So if we see a threat looming on the international horizon or in the diaspora as it relates to people of color somewhere else, then we can not only move here in the U.S., but bringing like-minded individuals from around the world will allow us to bring pressure, bring insight, bring focus to areas that issues that are taking place around the world, which could help stop a lot of things and make things different than what they currently are. And that's another big avenue and or opportunity for us as Americans here. We need to do a better job of connecting with black people abroad to make sure that we are working with one another to make our communities here and their communities there bigger, stronger, better. You see, if we are able to own and control just the convenience stores, I'm talking about anything else, but we can own and control just the convenience stores, then that shelf space, which is extremely important when it comes to a new product coming to market. If you can place a product on a shelf in not only 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, but hundreds of convenience stores, hundreds of shelves around the country, then it really it helps that other people can buy your product, but it really may not matter that much, because you will have millions buying your product, because millions are coming through that convenience store and or that mini mart in that community. So we're not talking again about anything that's small by any stretch of the imagination. We're saying we need to rebuild the black community. We're saying we need to rebuild, reinvest, and take over the black community. We're saying we need to rebuild, reinvest, and take over the black community so that we can better protect and educate our children, so that we can better protect and take care of our black women, so that we can better protect, take care of, and utilize our elders who have generations, decades of experience doing whatever they do in the community. If it's a retired teacher, he or she would probably love to educate black children. If he or she is a retired engineer, then of course we're going to need that expertise to rebuild these cities and towns. If he or she is a doctor, if he or she was a janitor, or whatever, the time, the energy, the spirit is what we're looking for to rebuild the black community and make it bigger, better, stronger. And none of this is going to be possible, no matter how good it sounds, no matter how great it is, no matter how logical it is to do. None of this is going to happen if we don't have the right people in place to make it so. And I'm saying that is the purpose of the Black Gold Ambassadors, which is us having a face for what we're trying to do on the ground in a given community. And I live in the greater Houston area. I know parts of Houston. I know the city where I live in. I know the black community. I know the black people. Well, I know a good amount of black people here. But I don't know the community in Chicago. I don't know the community in the Bronx, New York. I don't know the community in Los Angeles, black community. I don't know the community in I don't know, Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. I don't know the community where you live, but you do. The people that you know the community where they live. So I am saying, if there is a community that's predominantly black in and around where you live, then we need you to help us bring this Black Gold movement to that community. Because if we don't, again, we're not only doing ourselves and our children a disservice, but we're failing our race, both now for our children and our children's children, because all we have left to do, the only thing that's left that we haven't tried and that we've tried and been successful at, is owning and controlling our communities. And again, having been a member of a community for over 20 years that was owned and controlled by black people, I have been blessed to know what that feels like. I've been blessed to know black love on a level that most black people will never fully realize. And I'm not talking about your family members. That's one thing, that's a given. But I'm talking about you walk out your door and you know everyone that's there, because all of you have gone through the same process to be there, and you're on the same page. That there are a few things that feel better than the love of a community that has your back and is working with you across the board in multiple arenas to ensure that not only you're safe, but your family is safe, your children are safe, your wife, your aunt, your uncle, whomever, they are safe, and they're going to be cared for as much as humanly possible, because all of you guys are on the same page. And I'm saying, having had that experience for over 20 years, I want to bring that to black people nationwide. And see, that is one of the strengths of the leadership election, because having been a member of the Shrine did a lot of things right. And of course, mistakes were made, like in any national organization, mistakes were made, but those mistakes pale in comparison to everything we got right. So I'm saying everything we got right, we need to bring that to the larger black nation nationally, so that they can be a part of that we got right. And I am trying to bring, if you will, Shrines of the Black Madonna best practices to the national black community. And having the election allows us to not only identify other black people who also have best practices in their given area. We identify them, we vet them, we make them a part of what we're doing, and they can bring their best practices to the national community as well. So ideally, once it's all said and done, you have a committed group of experienced leadership who have proven themselves to not only know what they're doing in their given area and or discipline, but they've proven that they love the community because they're already doing things in the community. And I venture to say that if they aren't doing anything, they probably won't get elected. Because why would you elect someone who's not doing anything? So we bring best practices to the national black community. As a member of the Shrine, I bring an understanding of building a community as far as a group process to make everyone work together on the same page. I bring an understanding of youth development and education. I bring an understanding of security. I bring an understanding of institutional power. Other people will bring an understanding of agribusiness. They will bring an understanding of foreign policy and how it affects black people here in America. They bring an understanding of business development, which we are sorely lacking in. They'll bring an understanding of intelligence and defense. They'll bring an understanding of security. They'll bring an understanding of spiritual healing and development. So the beauty of the election is that it will allow us, the national black community, to know, first off, that other black people are doing things, because a lot of people don't believe that black people can do anything without white people. But not only know and see that other black people are doing things, but we have a chance to benefit from their expertise, because their role as a department head of the black nation will be to show us how to do what they are currently doing. And a critically important component of a black ambassador will be to, via the youth development program, the education programs that we're going to have every Saturday, they'll be able to not only identify those black children who have strengths in certain areas, but by us building this national black community that's connected, we'll be able to plug them into programs that they can benefit and grow from, that we keep in-house for the black community, for the black nation. And that's huge, because if we can identify the strengths and weaknesses of our children, we can make those weaknesses stronger into strengths, but those natural strengths that our children have, we keep those things in-house, we develop them in-house, we place these children in positions where they can actively work on what they're naturally good at in-house. So ultimately everything is in-house. And then we connect them to other communities, of course, that we own and control in the nation, but we also connect them with communities that we are allied with in other countries. So right now I am saying that we have an awesome opportunity and an awesome responsibility to create a new black community based on what we already know, based on what you already do. So I, having been a member of a church for 20 plus years that was pro-black, that was all about self-sufficiency, all about using your separation as a basis to build power, all about the group and not the individual, I bring that to the table, and I'm trying to bring that to the larger black community. Other black people around the country bring an understanding, expertise of agribusiness to the table. 10, 20, 15, 30, whatever years. They also bring an understanding of intelligence and defense. I've been in the Army. I know several people who are also in the military, different branches. And that is most certainly something that we need to have an understanding of, which is owning, controlling, and protecting what we have. Black people nationwide will bring that expertise to the nation. We'll have people, I meet people daily. I met a brother a few weeks ago who is I think he was a mechanical engineer at NASA. A young brother in his late 30s, PhD. Told him about the book, what I'm working on, what I'm doing. He wants to be a part of the education process, education program, because he feels, and he's right, that science and technology isn't being taught to our kids as it should be, because our kids live in impoverished inner city areas, and of course the country isn't investing adequately in those children. They're investing in prisons. So he wants to bring that to the nation. And there are black people like that all over the country. So I'm saying we have an opportunity, and even a responsibility to bring what we have, bring what we've been blessed with, bring what we know to the larger black nation, so that black nation, our black nation, can benefit from it. And I say, if we don't do that, if we don't do this, if we don't get serious about rebuilding Black Wall Street and protecting Black Wall Street, then again, we're failing ourselves, our children, our children's children, and we are making it so that becoming a permanent underclass is inevitable. It is going to happen. Things that are happening right now in this country with Donald Trump, things that are happening internationally as it relates to black people, the situation isn't getting better, it's getting worse. But that doesn't mean that it has to continue that way, and that doesn't mean that we don't have weapons, resources, expertise, understanding that we can own and control, that we can bring to the table. I believe in black people. I believe that there is nothing we can't accomplish when we put our minds to it. I think the only thing that's stopping us is us. And if we have a better understanding of us and who we are and how powerful we are, and I'm not just talking about economically and or politically as it relates to money or numbers, but spiritually, how important and powerful we are, then we can change things when that kind of knowledge and expertise and understanding comes to the fore. So I am saying that rebuilding Black Wall Street, having communities that we own and control, is a must do, period. Voting, extremely important. Ultimately, won't matter if you don't have power to make sure that whatever you vote on will stick and stay. Having Black Wall Street is a must do, and controlling that economics is important, because if you don't control the money that is coming into and leaving your community, then you will never be able to have an environment that you can own and control. Being able to secure and protect an environment that you own and control is vitally important as well, because of course we know that police brutality is real, the school to prison pipeline is real, drug dealers, prostitution, pedophilia, predators, all of these things are destroying the black community. So we need to have a process by which we can protect the community in an area that we can own and control, so that we can deal with those internal threats and make sure those external threats never come in the first place. So I'm saying, for black people in 2017, all we have left is to build a Black Wall Street, not just once, but multiple times in every major city in this country and every smaller city surrounding that major city. And we all need to be plugged into one another on multiple levels, in multiple arenas, across multiple platforms, so that we can ensure that we're all moving forward to build a nation within a nation with power. If an organization, if its ultimate goal, I don't care what it is, I don't care if it's a frat, if it's a sorority, if it's a military organization, if it's a nonprofit, if it's a church, if it's a book club, I don't care what it is. If any black organization does not have as its ultimate goal to either be a part of or support a nation within a nation, which is environments that we own and control, if that organization does not have that bullet point as one of its tenets, then I am saying that organization is irrelevant and not helping us do what we need to do. That doesn't mean that they can't be used, because they can be used and they can be useful. But ultimately, if they're not trying to create a system by which our children can be safe, our women can be safe, our elders can be safe and respected, and we can take advantage of the youth energy that's coming through that community, then that organization is irrelevant, because ultimately it's not serving to help us be better, but it's serving to plug us into a system that's proven itself to be anti-us. So I try to keep my live streams to 30 minutes. I apologize. My sister, who's my number 2, April Hunter, she loves when I go long, but I would like to go that long. I try and keep it brief, 30 minutes. So I apologize for that. But let me thank everyone who made the live stream. I think I had a few people on. My cousin, Lisa Copeland, thank you, sister, for joining. Thank you, Fundi Karima. Thank you, my sister-in-law, Julia Jones. Thank you guys for thank you, sister Namyanka. Thank you for taking time to make the live stream. And as always, ask that you share this to as many people as possible. Feel free to share it on your Facebook page or whatever social media platform you're on, because it's not going to work if it's just me, Sister April, and everyone that's on the live stream. This needs to be put out there to as many black people as possible, so that we can find as many ambassadors as possible, so that we can really hit the ground running and make this thing happen. The election is April 14, 2018. I would like to have 6 to 8 candidates per department, so that the national black community can really see the expertise that we have out there, but they'll be able to really vote for the best of the best. And of course, we're going to ask those that do not win to support the one that did win, which is that much more black excellence supporting that department. So I'm pretty sure I have everyone's email address. If I don't have it, please send it. Please share the live stream with as many people as you think are like-minded persons I'll be willing to support. If you have questions about anything that I've covered, because I talk fast by nature, you can go to the website, which is blackgoldnation.com. If you have any questions, or if you want to volunteer, you can send me an email at blackgolddevalued@gmail.com. And I think that is about it. Yeah, so I'm going to end the stream with 2 things. One is a statement a mentor of mine used to say after her Sunday radio show. She would end her show by saying, no one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. That's Sister Ada Edwards, who is absolutely wonderful and beautiful both within and without, inside and out, excuse me. And the last thing is a statement we used to say in the shrine every day, all day, which is always, always, always remember that nothing is more sacred than the liberation and salvation of the black nation. So thank you very much for making the stream. God bless you. And I will see you guys this coming Thursday for the next stream at 12 noon. So thank you very much. God bless you, and share it, and we'll move forward. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.